Imagine a global summit meant to save our planet, yet it sidesteps the very fuel driving the crisis: fossil fuels. That's the shocking reality unfolding at COP30 in Brazil, where negotiators have quietly removed all references to phasing out these dirty energy sources from the draft agreement. As the United Nations COP30 climate conference in Belém, Brazil, inches toward its conclusion, a pivotal element has vanished from the negotiating table: any mention of fossil fuels, which remain the biggest culprit behind global warming. For newcomers to these talks, COP stands for Conference of the Parties, where nearly 200 countries gather to hammer out collective strategies on climate action. These drafts typically undergo numerous tweaks, ensuring every nation can sign off before a deal is finalized. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, along with allies like the United Kingdom, has been pushing for bolder commitments to swiftly cut back on fossil fuel reliance. An earlier version of the text even outlined 3 potential pathways to achieve this goal. But opposition from oil-rich countries led to its complete excision. Now, a coalition including the UK has circulated a strongly worded letter condemning the revised draft. "We express deep concern regarding the current proposal under consideration for a take-it-or-leave-it," it states. "We cannot support an outcome that does not include a roadmap for implementing a just, orderly and equitable transition away from fossil fuels." Sources familiar with the discussions point to Saudi Arabia and fellow Arab nations as the primary roadblocks. The BBC reached out to Saudi officials for their perspective, but no response has been shared yet. Experts suggest this omission might be a shrewd bargaining move, designed to intensify the pressure and prod reluctant parties into compromise. But here's where it gets controversial: are these intricate, legally dense negotiations truly worth the effort, or are they just elaborate theater? Skeptics argue that these summits often drag on longer than planned, bogged down in diplomatic dances where national interests overshadow planetary priorities. Yet, defenders highlight the real progress tied to past COP agreements, such as the surge in renewable energy adoption. Think solar panels lighting up homes worldwide or wind farms powering entire cities. Electric vehicles are zooming off assembly lines in record numbers, and nature conservation efforts have ramped up, protecting forests and oceans from further harm. Shifting gears to other hot topics at COP30, there's the persistent shortfall in climate financing. Wealthier nations pledged support for developing countries hardest hit by climate disasters, but the new draft calls for tripling global funds by 2030 without specifying origins. Could it come from governments, private investors, or elsewhere? This ambiguity irks poorer nations, who lambasted last year's COP29 deal in Baku, Azerbaijan, as insufficient. For instance, countries like Bangladesh or the Maldives, facing rising seas, feel the sting of inadequate aid more acutely. And this is the part most people miss: the draft has also softened its stance on deforestation, a critical issue at a summit bordering the vast Brazilian Amazon. Kelly Dent, Director of External Engagement for World Animal Protection, voiced her dismay. For a COP hosted in the Amazon, it's shattering that deforestation is taking a back seat. The wildlife and indigenous people who call the forest their home deserve better than this. Indeed, the 2-week event has seen disruptions, including a protest where activists stormed the venue with signs declaring, "Our forests are not for sale." Then, a fire erupted on Thursday, damaging the site's covering and injuring 13 people with smoke, forcing an evacuation and a 6-hour shutdown. On a brighter note, COP30 has welcomed the highest ever number of indigenous delegates, amplifying voices often marginalized in global discourse. This inclusion fosters hope for more inclusive solutions. What do you think? Should fossil fuels be front and center in climate deals, or is this diplomatic dance just delaying the inevitable shift to renewables? Do you see these summits as catalysts for change, or overly bureaucratic obstacles? Share your views in the comments. I'd love to hear agreements, disagreements, or fresh takes on navigating this environmental tightrope.